My parents abandoned me, claiming that I was a problematic child. Now they have returned and want my help. I was 12 years old when I realized my parents didn't know how to love me. It wasn't an epiphany that hit all at once. Rather, it was a gradual understanding that sank in over the years like rain slowly eroding rock. I had been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 6, and from that moment on, everything changed. "Mom, can I go play outside?" I asked one afternoon, clutching my insulin pump tightly. Mom barely looked up from her magazine. "Did you check your levels?" "Yes, I'm fine." "Fine," she said with a wave of her hand, her eyes never leaving the glossy pages. It wasn't the words that hurt, but the indifference. My older sister, Amanda, was healthy and outgoing, everything I was not. She excelled in school, sports, and was the apple of my parents' eyes. Meanwhile, I was the problem child, the one they had to keep an eye on, the one who disrupted their perfect family with my medical needs. "Why can't you be more like Amanda?" Dad would say, his frustration barely masked. "I'm trying," I would whisper, the words feeling empty. By the time I was 14, the neglect had taken its toll. My parents had become more distant, more resentful of my condition. My blood sugar levels were unpredictable, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to avoid their wrath. One evening, after another failed attempt at getting their attention by acting out, Mom finally snapped. "That's it, Alex. I can't deal with this anymore. You're just too much," she yelled. I stood there, stunned, as she continued. "Pack your things. We're taking you to your Aunt Grace's." "Aunt Grace? But she lives 3 hours away," I protested, panic rising in my chest. "Exactly," Dad muttered under his breath. The drive to Aunt Grace's was silent. I stared out the window, tears streaming down my face, wondering how things had gotten so bad. Aunt Grace lived in a small, rural town, far from the city life I was used to. She was kind, but strict, a retired nurse who had agreed to take me in, albeit reluctantly. When we arrived, she greeted us at the door with a warm, if slightly weary, smile. "Hello, Alex. Come in, dear." My parents didn't stay long. They exchanged a few words with Aunt Grace, handed over my bags, and left without so much as a goodbye. Living with Aunt Grace was a stark contrast to life with my parents. She had rules, yes, but she also had a way of making me feel seen and heard. She took an active interest in managing my diabetes, something my parents had never done. "How are you feeling today, Alex?" she would ask every morning, her eyes filled with genuine concern. "Better, I think," I would reply, slowly starting to believe it. Grace insisted on daily walks, healthy meals, and a strict routine. It was tough at first, but slowly I began to feel the benefits. I was still angry and hurt by my parents' abandonment, but I was also starting to feel something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. One night, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Grace turned to me and said, "You know, Alex, it's okay to be angry with them, but don't let it define you. You have so much potential, and I'm here to help you find it." Her words stuck with me. For the first time, I felt like someone believed in me, and that made all the difference. 3 years passed, and I thrived under Aunt Grace's care. I managed my diabetes better, my grades improved, and I even made a few friends at my new school. But the past was never far from my mind, and I often wondered if my parents ever thought about me. Then one day, out of the blue, they showed up at Aunt Grace's door. "Alex, we need to talk," Dad said, his voice strained. I stood there, shocked. "What are you doing here?" "Your sister. She's in trouble. We need your help," Mom said, her voice breaking. I stared at them, a mix of anger and disbelief boiling inside me. "Now you need my help? After everything?" "Please, Alex. It's important," Dad said, his tone almost pleading. Reluctantly, I let them in. They explained that Amanda had developed a drug problem while at college, and they were desperate to get her into a rehab program that was beyond their financial means. "You have some money saved up, don't you? From Aunt Grace's inheritance?" Mom asked, her eyes avoiding mine. I felt a surge of betrayal and fury. "You want my money? After abandoning me here?" "It's for Amanda," Dad said, as if that justified everything. I looked at Aunt Grace, who had been silently watching from the kitchen. She gave me a small nod of encouragement. Taking a deep breath, I turned back to my parents. "I'll help," I said slowly, "but on one condition." "Anything," Mom said quickly. "You have to publicly acknowledge what you did to me. Apologize for abandoning me, for making me feel like a burden." They stared at me, shocked. "Alex, you can't be serious," Dad said. "I am. That's my condition. Take it or leave it." The room was silent. I could see the struggle in their eyes, their pride warring with their desperation. Finally, Mom spoke, her voice trembling. "We're sorry, Alex. We were wrong to leave you here. You didn't deserve that." Dad looked down, unable to meet my gaze. "We're sorry." It wasn't the heartfelt apology I had hoped for, but it was something. True to my word, I used a portion of Aunt Grace's inheritance to help Amanda. We found a reputable rehab center, and I even visited her a few times. She was grateful, and for the first time in years, we began to rebuild our relationship. "I'm sorry for everything, Alex," Amanda said one day during a visit. "I should have been there for you." "We were both kids," I replied. "It wasn't your fault." Helping Amanda felt good, but it also stirred up a lot of old wounds. I was still angry at my parents, and their apology, while a step in the right direction, hadn't erased the years of pain. Months passed, and Amanda completed her rehab program. She moved back home with our parents, who were trying to mend their ways. They reached out to me occasionally, trying to build bridges, but I kept my distance. I was still wary, still hurt. Aunt Grace remained my rock. One evening, as we were having dinner, she looked at me thoughtfully. "Alex, you've come a long way. I'm proud of you." "Thanks, Grace. I couldn't have done it without you." "You've got a good heart, Alex. Don't let your parents' mistakes harden it. Give them a chance, but don't be afraid to protect yourself either." Her words resonated with me. I knew I had to find a balance between protecting myself and opening up to the possibility of reconciliation. One day, I received a call from Dad. "Alex, can we meet? There's something we need to discuss." I hesitated, but agreed. We met at a small cafe in town. Dad looked older, more worn than I remembered. "We've been trying to be better parents to Amanda," he began. "We're sorry for what we did to you, truly. We want to make it right if you'll let us." I listened, my emotions swirling. "It's going to take time," I said finally. "You can't just erase the past with words." "I know," he said, tears in his eyes. "But we're willing to try, if you'll give us the chance." I looked at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. Maybe Grace was right. Maybe it was time to start letting go of some of the anger, to open myself up to the possibility of healing. "I'll think about it," I said, my voice steady. Slowly, I started to let my parents back into my life. It wasn't easy, and there were many difficult conversations and tears along the way. But they were trying, and I could see the effort they were making to change. Amanda and I grew closer, our shared experiences forging a bond that was stronger than before. She often visited Grace and me, and we would spend hours talking about our past and our hopes for the future. "Do you think we can ever really forgive them?" Amanda asked one day. "I think forgiveness is a process," I replied. "It doesn't happen all at once, but we can start by taking small steps." Years passed, and while the scars of the past never fully healed, they faded enough to allow new beginnings. My parents continued to work on themselves, and our relationship, while still fragile, grew stronger. Aunt Grace passed away peacefully one summer evening, leaving a void that could never be filled. But she left behind a legacy of love and strength that continued to guide me. As I stood by her grave, my parents and Amanda by my side, I felt a sense of peace. Life had come full circle, and while it hadn't been easy, it had made me stronger. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" I said softly. "We have," Amanda agreed, squeezing my hand. In that moment, I knew that despite the pain and the hurt, we had found our way back to each other. And for that, I was grateful.